All right, welcome back, everyone. As I said, we're picking up the second stream today, and it's actually decent Saturday afternoon. It's about 1:30 Central Time right now for those of you watching. I'm your host, Johnny Rush, and we are going over some changes here. These are the changes we outlined in Stream 24 that we plan to do for this Stream 25. The first thing was to organize all waypoints in a main group and subgroups. So we have a collection of waypoints in the subgroups, and we can have multiple, subgroups collections throughout the map, which will then be used to specify where we want our enemy to spawn at and navigate through. So, and speaking of spawns, second item was to add up. We're going to add 3 possible spawn locations of an enemy within that waypoint subgroup. So that's not across the whole map. That's within each little area. There's going to be 3 possible spawn locations, which will be randomly chosen to make it a little more random as far as the AI part, where the enemy goes, or where he starts, where he goes. Same with the starting and starting waypoint within the waypoint collection for that subgroup. That will also be randomized as well. Third thing was to so once we have that done, we'll again, those things are just the 1 and 2 is basically stuff that's going to be done in Unity. We're going to be setting up additional game objects and organizing them in the hierarchy and setting up the different waypoint areas within the map. And initially, we're just going to, for testing purposes, we're going to do around Trader's Village. We're going to break it down into 4 separate waypoint areas with 3 spawn points within each of those waypoint navigation areas. And once that's done, then we can continue on step 3 here, which is to write a function that's going to retrieve the possible enemy spawn locations in a waypoint collection. We're going to add that to the AI enemy waypoint script. And so it'll be a public function that could be called. Right now, I'm foreseeing it as public. It may change to private depending on how we implement that. Yeah, it's going to have to be public, actually. The way we have set up is we spawn our enemy, and before we make them active, we're going to set up some parameters through calling these functions and getting all that set up right. So all that will be done through this function. So and then once that function has the parameters that were set, then we'll enable our enemy, which will make them visible in the world, and all the scripting will start, or starting with the start function that Unity looks for and will initiate and run. So, well, actually, the start, I take it back. The start is actually ran when you instantiate the object, but the update or the fixed update or late update or any other those other functions will not actually be executed or ran until you set that object active. So, with that said, we'll continue on to write that function that will be able to spawn the enemy by passing in all that information that it's going to need, which is the prefab spawn location start waypoint, repeat waypoint, variable, which is a Boolean, sprint mode, which we already have defined as the waypoint sprint mode type. And then finally, we'll test all that. Obviously, with one, well, we'll test it. We can test it simultaneously, but we'll be looking at one location. Once all that's working, then we can basically spawn in multiple tigers and into different areas we have. We might even be able to spawn. Yeah, we could spawn 1 or more tigers in that particular area, in that waypoint navigation area. So that'll be interesting to see how that works once it's finished. And when we get that part of it written, these 2 functions are critical because we want to be able to instantiate and spawn, um, set up the waypoint navigation, all that completely through code, not through the inspector. We're trying to eliminate the use of the inspector altogether so that we can create these as a keep it as part of our prefab for the enemy, and then so we'll go that once we have the prefab created, we can just pop that in any place we need to. All right, so let's start with step one here. We're going to organize our waypoints. So let's look at what we have right now. And I've changed around our layout. I took the game view that was down here and just brought it up here to bring them all together. I want to have this full view available so we can see the hierarchy and all that. So now we have this test 2, which is if we look at the scene view there, you can see the little green dots that you see are actually where those are at. So as we go through, you'll see that's what we currently had set up and we're playing around. So we're going to take those and kind of make those into our first waypoint area. I still have this disabled. All these waypoints are disabled at this point, even though they're here. Because the parent object is disabled, they're not going to be accessible in the game. And so this first route that we had, I'm going to rename this. We're going to actually keep this route. Because it's, you know, it patrols the entire waypoint system. So we could use this for let's rename this to, I know I changed the map. It's NPC waypoints. Call it NPC waypoints, and then we're going to call this one outside. Well, it goes around Trader Village, so I'm trying to come up with a good name for this one. Oh, we'll just call it, this is actually location A here. So it'll be LA, location A. Or should we call it like that? Location A, underscore, and we'll call this main circle. Let's call it main. Main ring. I'll just call it the main ring, which is the one that's going to be going around there. So, and underneath that, we need to create 2 empty game objects. First one would be called waypoints. Second empty game object when you call it spawns. And so in each of these that we set up, we're going to have a waypoints and spawns group, and then underneath that we'll have our actual waypoints. So we'll take these 10 and drop them under the waypoints. We have our enemy spawn here, which was over there. let's see, this is waypoint 1 is over there, enemy, and waypoint 10 is over there, enemy spawn. It's kind of over there. Let's bring that out way over here. Just make sure. Yeah, just want to make sure it's still on the terrain. Okay, so that's going to be our new enemy spawn. We're going to take that, we're going to drag it down into spawns. And we're going to name that just spawn 1. It really don't matter. But it's yeah, we'll name it spawn 1. So we have spawn 1, 2, and 3 within those. So spawn 1. We're going to Control D on that while it's highlighted to duplicate it. Control D again to duplicate that. And so let's rename those spawn 2. And so with the system we're setting up, the actual spawn locations in the waypoints will still be defined like we were doing before in the editor. But that's all we're going to be doing is setting those up. And these already have waypoints defined. I'm not going to remove any of this that we have because we can still add the spawn enemy script to this. And so the system can be set up either way. And we might even I'm not sure if we need to make this as a prefab or not yet, the individual waypoint where we just drag it in and place it where we want it. We may wind up doing that. Alright, so we have our 3 spawn locations. Let's set this spawn. Let's make it somewhere down here. Down here. Let's bring it way down over there. Let's go out here. Let's zoom in to this edge. Get a closer look. See our spawn. Yeah, we just want to make sure that he was nowhere near the cliff there. All right, and let's see what else. Third one. Slide that one over. We're going to spawn them somewhere on this side here. So 3 possible locations. Okay, and let's make sure 7, 8 is over there. 9's out of the way. So 8, 7, between here and there. Our spawn 3. Just want to make sure it's not spawning directly on the thing. There's a glitch if the spawn location winds up being just about on an existing waypoint when you first set it up. When the tiger spawns in, it could cause some issues where he kind of hangs up in the air. There may be a way I can do some additional scripting and all that. I can do some checks for that and remedy that. But I'm playing it safe just by putting the spawn locations away from the waypoint locations. So now, as defaults, if they were to spawn at 3, we're going to make the we'll make the starting spawn location that's 8 and that's 7. Let's make it 8 for 3. So for 3, the starting spawn location is going to be 8, and course, the ending. Set the starting and ending to the same. Spawn 2. See that one. Let's see what we have as far as waypoints go. We got 4 there, 3s there, 4, 5, 6. Where's waypoint 2? 6, 4. I might make it 3 on that one. So spawn 2. I want to make sure it's something that's not going to make them walk directly off a cliff to it, because we don't have something that can check over the edge, or we don't have like a perimeter set up that says you can't walk over these edges. So we got to use some intelligent layout here just to make sure that does not occur. Alright, although he will keep running, he will eventually go, he'll drop up and he will climb the wall and go, but eventually we're going to change it where he's not going to be able to climb certain angles and all that, so I'd rather eliminate that issue from the get-go until we get to that point. Okay, so 2 is going to be, I think I said 4, right? Or 3. Set it as 4. So 4, and then spawn point 1. And make waypoint 1 and 1 starting and ending. Alright, so spawn 2 and 3. So to test this out, I haven't changed anything with the tags, kept all this the same. Essentially all we did, move it over, categorize it. I just want to see right now if we could spawn 3 tigers like this with this setup. Okay, I see 1 there. See 1 there. Yep. See 1 there. They're all moving. They're assigned. Let's get a little higher up where we can actually see each of them. And they are set on the both, I think, as far as sprint speed goes. It'll alternate between sprinting and walking. Because of the way I had that one, he actually started walking toward spawn 1 in that direction, so they were kind of close together. And so now you've got 3 that are kind of clustered. But they are alternating, you can see that. Yeah, so that's only 3, but that's for those areas. But we'll have a. I think we almost need to have a 4th, to be honest with you, for that outer ring. Let's stop this. Or maybe we'll change the. Spawn 2. It's using waypoint 4, which sends it in the opposite direction. So as the direction. Let's go 5. That's 6. Let's use 6 as its starting point instead for waypoint 2. 6, 6, and then waypoint 3. It's starting at 8, which is, where's 8? 8 is there. One before that is 7. Yeah, so 8 is a good one. Get them going in a clockwise direction. That's the other thing. Our navigational system is only one way. I would like to implement it where we could have it go the opposite way. So we'll just put a check in there. We're telling it, you know, to get the next waypoint or not. We're just going to have a check in there. And we'll put that in the get next and get previous functions, because the function, we don't want to confuse the way the code reads. You know, we could do that if statement. If we're going in reverse direction, then instead of getting the next, we get the previous. Instead of for the previous, we get the next. That's going to look confusing. We'll just keep it the way it is. We're calling the next or the previous, but within the next and the previous functions themselves, we'll hide, encapsulate the check for the direction, which will return back. And it's only two functions, and we'll need to put the if statement in. It'll return back the proper next waypoint or previous waypoint based on the direction that we're going or traveling. Alright, so that was that. So spawn 1 is there, and it goes to location 1. That's going to location, which is around here. This one goes over here, and the last one starting around there. Perfect. So now let's run that. I'll spread them out so we don't cluster them all up together. We'll keep it 3 of them circulating around like sharks. So again, we're doing some testing. It's always good to test. Just, you know, if you know something's broken that you're getting ready to modify, you don't want to even continue with modifications till you know you've got everything else working. That's, you know, required to work for that functionality you're going to change. Alright, so that makes more sense. We've got one there, we've got one there. As soon as it hits, it should do a sprint here soon. I'm almost thinking we could... Well, these are the ones that are just circling around the main one. We got one ring that goes, outer main ring that goes around. You got 3 spawns. We can maybe even increase that to 5 possibly as a special case for that. But so we're going to have a combination of these statically defined ones and not static. So until we get that functionality written. So let's see. Yeah, so there the other one's sprinted on. He's moved up further ahead. That's good. Grab us a gun. Take a few pop shots. Can we do it? It's probably too far to hit, actually. I forgot we got a distance damage. Yeah, so these are spread out a little better this way. Alright, so let's stop that. We don't want to spend too much time there. Okay, so we know we've got that kind of working that we want. Now let's work on, we're going to take those and we're going to basically change this code and set it up in such a way that we can just pick a random spawn spot here. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure each of them navigated properly from each of the spawn locations through the waypoint system. And so it might make sense. I know originally we're going to have a random waypoint, but if we spawn him here and it picks a waypoint here, I mean, he's going to walk straight because it's a line of sight. He's going to hit here. He's probably going to be traversing through here, which he can't really do anything to the players, but will he get stuck? That's the question. Just out of curiosity, let's just see how that works. Spawn 3. If we were to pick waypoints 3, waypoint 2, for example, from spawn 3 as its starting waypoint and ending waypoint. I also want to see, because we're in the safe zone, he shouldn't be attacking us. Yeah, but yet he is. Wish our player don't die. I turned that off right now so we don't actually die. Okay, so we need to look at that logic there. Okay, so let's go to our scripting code here. This would be in the AI enemy controller. And so we do this check. Where is it? Players and safe zones. Okay. Else. I guess I should have had this. I don't know why we didn't have it. I guess because we set it false to begin with at the top. That's why. Okay. So that's set. Okay, so that's not its iteration. But once the tiger gets inside the safe zone, this check here is no longer done. And we probably need to pull it out, actually. Here's what we probably need to do. That's probably what's caused the issue. Because originally, this is what I had. I added this check later. So regardless of the distance of the player, if the player's in a safe zone, then none of this will be set. It should be like this. Because player tracking is set to false initially, so it's not attacking or tracking. So the only time this code is going to execute is if the player is not in the safe zone. So if the player is not in the safe zone, then we check the distance to the player tracking radius. And then we check is tracking player equals true. Yeah, so that'll set it to true. And this else is attacking equals false. Doesn't necessarily need to be set because it's already set right above there. It's kind of a mute point at that point. So alright, so let's save that, and that little fix there should remedy that. So the tiger is set to do 15 damage points, whereas our bullet does 18. We can do more damage with a bullet than he can do with his claw. So, and we can fire a lot faster, right? So you should be able to kill a tiger easy. All right, so let's run that. Again, we're also gonna change our player spawning to spawn to one of our designated spawn locations. I just moved that one here just to get him. Okay, so now he still ran after me. Now why is that? More to it. Okay, so let's say players in the safe zone. Something must be changing it because is tracking player. Let's see if we're setting that somewhere else. Okay, so in track player, it's set to false initially. We got this is tracking check, which is only set to true when the distance of the player is less than that, and if the player is not in the safe zone. Okay, so loop back over here. There's nowhere else that is tracking is set. So what about this in safe zone? That's the other thing we want to check. Okay, in the player manager, we got an in safe zone. Got our public property. So initially it's set false. When he enters the collider, set to true. Set to false when he exits, but at that point we set no other place. So why I don't see any place that safe zone is just triggered on or off when you walk into Hawaii. How could it even get down to that? That's what I don't understand. How could it even get down to that? Man, it has to be going inside this code here, which, yeah, this. Player not in safe zone. Unless, this is what I'm thinking, it's my misunderstanding with Unity again and references. I'm surprised everything else has worked up to this point. Let's just see how this runs first before I get all sentimental here. Alright, so we're going to log that if the player's not in the safe zone. Oh. I know what's going on. The only time the safe zone thing is triggered is when the player... My bad. See, this is... Okay, I'm trying to figure out a glitch in the code. There's not a glitch in the code. It's a glitch in... Let me try to get over to Unity here. Let's go back to our scene. See, we're using player spawn A. Well, look where player spawn A is. He's already inside our trader village area. So the perimeter is already outside. He's already inside. That's not the isn't safe zone will never be triggered because he's already in there. He hasn't passed the trigger zone. He spawns into the trigger zone. That's another thing to be aware of. But we need to pull him outside. Right there. And ba-boom, it should work fine. See, again, this player spawn A was not over there to begin with. It was in a totally... It should have been triggered now. It should be saying he's in the safe zone. I don't see him trying to sprint, so I'm assuming that took care of that. Yeah. He eventually worked his way through the wall. That's what I was concerned about, was the tiger going to be able to navigate this stuff. When he's running fast, he probably can navigate easier, but... So you need to have some way to improve the AI where it can actually navigate around objects. Now, there is this thing I think there's like a culling mask that might be able to be used to just allow it to walk through like these tables and stuff like that. Maybe we don't want it to walk through the walls, but I mean, obviously we want to work out the logic better. But you see, the issue I was trying to demonstrate is, you know, will he really not make it through there? It looks like he's kind of stuck. Now, the only way he might make it in there if we're friendly and we give him a little bump. We can kind of push into him there. Yeah, send him on his merry way. Eventually, probably seeing. Eventually, if he's at an angle, he'll eventually work his way there. Got him. There's too much sensitivity. The low frame rate like this too. Anyway. So we got that working okay. So we figured out our bug. We figured out what it was. It wasn't really a bug. It was the fact that our player was inside there. And I didn't, like I said, I moved player spawn. The player spawn was originally way over here. Player spawn A was over here. So if we look at the overall map, how we had that set up. Well, we've seen it before, but that's what it was. I'm not going to go through that. Okay, so let's move on to the coding. That's what we want to do, is move on to some scripting here. And so let's go back to our list. So organize all waypoints in the main group and subgroups, collection of waypoints. Okay, so what I want to say, what I want to get at then is going back to our setup. Let's zoom out just a little bit. And our spawn. Spawn 1, fine. Spawn 2, fine. Spawn 3 is going to have to change. We can't have it at a waypoint that's opposite, where it's going through a structure that it probably can't navigate through right now with our current AI. When our AI gets a little bit more advanced, you know, that could change. So the first spawn, the first waypoint has to be one that's nearby the spawn location. So in that sense, we might not have too much control over what the starting point is in the waypoint setup, but we can randomly choose a spawn location. And let's yeah, we can try a random spawn location. But what I was thinking is there's some way to check on this. Let's see. Let's go to the enemy spawn. Okay, there's the prefab, starting waypoint and waypoint. Now, I was just wondering if we could make the waypoint the actual spawn, but that's fine. We'll keep it with the setup we have. We'll later come up with a better solution, because I know I had the issue where if I directly spawned in the enemy tiger on making its waypoints first the actual spawn location where it would spawn to start with, which is what I want. I want you to just specify, okay, I want its starting waypoint to be here. That's where he spawns at. That didn't work, so I created the secondary spawns where he starts there and then he moves toward the first waypoint, which we'll keep with that theme right now until figure out a better resolution for what the issue is. Yeah, so spawn 3, we just need to change that to, I think we said 8. Yeah. Spawn 3, waypoint 8. Let me get that back in place. So those are correct. Save that. Save the scene. And I'm going to take this list here. As we do each item, we'll just kind of move down the list to say done, not done, and then work in progress. So we'll just move it to each group. So we organized that, but we didn't do the other waypoint setups that we were going to do before. Again, I wanted to have smaller ones. It's just where you can spawn a tiger that just navigates through here. So let's start with this area here. I'm going to zoom in. So we want tigers just kind of roaming around the front here. We'll have the ones going around, but we'll also have ones moving around. So we'll be able to have 3 tigers roaming the outer ring, and then we'll have 4 additional tigers, 1 at each north, south, east, west. It just kind of runs around on one of these other waypoint setups. So under this, let's create a new empty. This will be called against location, loc A, and we'll call it north. And under that, again, we're going to create waypoints. Create another empty called spawns. So if we don't already have it, we need to have something called enemy spawn. Do we have that? We have an item spawn, a respawn, we have player spawns there for those. Enemy spawn right there. Enemy spawn. And so we're going to untag this spawn. So we don't want to have to get in the habit of having to tag everything. Untagged. So we're just going to tag that. The group of spawns, enemy spawn, locations would be tagged as enemy spawn. Same with the waypoint. And these would be tagged enemy waypoints, separate from. I think I'm going to reserve the word NPC waypoint for the non-player control, but the ones you interact with that are not enemies necessarily. They're people that give you information, your vendors, merchants, other people you'll interact with. So let's see what we have here. We have enemy spawn. We had that. So I want to add a tag, I guess. enemy waypoint. Let's add back in and I'm just setting these up and anticipating of having them already there. NPC spawn, NPC waypoint, and I want to get rid of waypoint NPC. Let's delete that. Used by waypoint 4. So yeah, we're gonna have to see. We're gonna have to remove all that. This here needs to be tagged. Enemy waypoint. That's already tagged enemy spawn. Boom, boom, boom. And then, can we do multiples? I think we can. Did it save? Will that save? Oh shit! I didn't do that. Pardon my language. I renamed those. I didn't mean to do that. What I meant to do is change that to untagged. Waypoints, enemy spawns. All right, just so I get the height right, the Y value. Actually, I can look at one. Okay, so our location A, I guess we'd have one like, let's say, one here, 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 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Maybe you want to have 7 or 8. Maybe 7. Let's make the group smaller. Do 7. So under waypoints, create an empty called waypoints. And then we want the height of this to be that value right there. It's going to paste in the values. Alright, so there's our waypoint 1. We're going to move that though. So let's look at our main waypoints again. 1 is there. 10 is in the middle there. So we got to try not to put one like exactly there. Just remember it's just below, between the center point of these two trees, where that grass goes from, you know, basically gravel to grass. That's 10, and then 9 is like out of the way, so shouldn't be an issue. But 1 is going to be right there. So let's duplicate these. Two, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Go with 7. That's a good number there. Let's go ahead and name these. We could do a, like I was saying, we could have a simple thing where we put in a an index variable. I was thinking about that, but since we're doing the categorization this way, and also it makes us, we can look at a map and know, okay, all these waypoints are over here, we're just going to number them here, and that'll be the sort order based on the number that they're in. So when we get the list, we know that, you know, as long as it'll build the list and put those in sorted order by waypoint name numerically. We'll continue to use that functionality that we have. All right, so 1 is going to stay here. One will be there. 2. Let's go about here. We'll go up in the center here. 2. 3. Bring 3 right across here. Down. Let's bring it down between these 2 trees. 4. Spread 4 way, walk like way out here somewhere. Let's check 10 again. Where was 10? 9. 1. 1 is there. Where's 4? Yeah. Let's raise that up. Let's get it more. Okay, 4. So 5. Somewhere over here. 6. Maybe somewhere over here. Let's go back to 5. Let's see where 4 is. 5. I'm going to bring 5 down a little bit over here. 6 is there. 7. Let's go about here. So let's go to the 1. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 6. Let's bring 6 in. Here. So 6, 7. So that's our first outer ring there. So we can collapse these waypoints here. So let's start 1. Let's control V that. That's going to become our first spawn as a reference. We're going to move that though. This will be called spawn 1. 2 more. Spawn 2. Spawn 3. Alright, so within our realm here, spawn 1. We'll just have spawn 1 like right here in the center. Spawn 2. It's going to spawn somewhere over here. Way off over here. Spawn 3 or like over here. Maybe even up over here. So this will be our spawns, and I don't think our spawns are in the way of any of the waypoints. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's go to our way spawn 1 there, spawn 2 there, spawn 3. Yeah, they're in different locations. All right, so now I think if we just take this now, Control D that, we can name this south. And I think it'll retain the names under there, so we don't have to bring it. Let's expand it out and take a look. Waypoints, yeah. See, all that name was kept and preserved. That's what I wanted. So the only difference, I think, let's zoom out here. Let's do this actually. All right, so this spacer is actually a little bit bigger than over here, but we can get most of it right. See, now what we can do, what the beauty of this is we can do this. And, well, I should have brought the waypoint up first, the Y value, and then clone it. So let's fix that. See, what I want to be able to do is just have it, it's all going to be up here. So now I can't just drag that where I want to because I can't really see where it's dragging to. I mean, it actually has a right there, but it's way underneath the terrain. We don't want that. So what we're going to do here, we're going to do a little playing around now. Location 8 north. Alright, so let's rename this. Create an empty. This will be called loc A north. It's going to be our north. And so what we need to do is we need to, first of all, let's get the height right. 155.924. Okay, so let's go here, set that, Control V. Okay, so now it's up in the air, and then zoom this out, not that far. Let's bring that over, bring it over. Now, if we look at this, we can. So I guess I want to have a reference point. So I think I'll have just somewhat in the middle here. Now I'll have it up here. Since we're going to be moving stuff downward, our starting point. We're going to have to zoom in this. Okay, so that's our starting point for everything. And then take these waypoints and drag them down to location north. Take the spawns as well. So when I do that, if I expand these, we still got all of our waypoints showing up in the right spot. Same with the spawns. So now I have values for position or offset from. Actually, this is going to have to change. Yeah. I want all these to be yeah, I'm going to have to drag these spawn points around again because I screwed up. It's always best to have everything zero based, so these are smaller. These are going to be easier to do. Alright, so we now have waypoints and spawns and location with all at the same spot, and then spawn 1. We're going to have to set spawn 2. We have to reset all these to 0 and redo our layout here real quick. Alright. Same with all these. These are going to have to be zeroed out. Actually, we can use just this. Choose the reset option. Alright, so starting with let's kind of center that area. Zoom in here. Zoom out a little bit. Alright, so starting with our waypoint, again, we said, okay, so waypoint 1 should be somewhere around here. Waypoint 2. Here. Waypoint 3. Somewhere around here. 4. Over here. 5. Down in the middle here somewhere. 6. It's probably good where it's at, but we'll kind of move it around and away. 7. Here, so let's cycle through our waypoint. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Back. Yeah, but then back to 1, which is top there. Okay, spawns. Alright, so, sorry, I was checking messages on my phone. Alright, so we've got the waypoint straight, and now we need to redo our spawn locations. So, spawn number 1. So spawn number 1 out here. Let's do spawn 2 somewhere about here. And then spawn 3, we're going to do way off over here. Just want to keep it where no matter what the waypoint is that's selected for this particular group, they're not going to be obstructed in any way. Alright, so now that we have that, we need to tag the waypoint again as enemy waypoints. So we got enemy waypoint. We're going to tag the spawns as enemy spawn. I'm trying to remember if we decided we're going to tag the main grouping. What do we do on? So we can delete this unknown with this main ring. Okay, that was location A waypoint. I guess that's fine. We don't necessarily even need to tag those. Here, because these are going to be very specific waypoint rings or locations that are going to house certain enemies anyway. So I don't think we need to even tag it. Like this one, tag location main ring. Is it? Oh no, it's location A waypoints. That's what it was. Okay, yeah, that we could do. Yeah, we'll do that. That could simplify the searching. Alright, so we have those two set, and then our test waypoints was the original, which we have those disabled. I guess some of those I kind of took a while to work out. I'm going to probably create just a path. Take that and create a path that goes from location A to whatever direction it was going. It was going across the bridge, and I guess we'll expand it out all the way to the other side. To the various locations that we have, which should wind up close to the player spawn locations. Alright, so we've got that in place. Okay, now this is where we had an NPC controller set up on the actual individual waypoints, and so and that was for the main ring. So that's the next thing we're going to do. I'm going to take a short break here, so Matter of fact, I might so actually kind of have something to do, but our next step here is adding the script MPC waypoint controller to each of the waypoints, and we'll add a spawn script. Well, we're gonna the spawn script is going to be different. The waypoint script, I think, we're going to use the same one because it has the logic built in to move the enemy from spawn place to spawn location, or the waypoint, each waypoint within the waypoint collection. That should work fine, but we're going to take a short break here. I got to take care of something, and then probably do another stream later this evening, and we'll kind of pick up where we left off. And I may do a little work in between now and then on this, just to get some legwork done and get the direction of this going. And you know, essentially what we're trying to do is set this up where we'll have a function. We could say pass it in like the main function that we're going to have. We're going to write and pass in the waypoint group, which will then be able to extract out the waypoints and the spawn points in that group, and utilize that to spawn our tiger in a random spawn location, or enemy. Right now it's a tiger, and then give it a initial random starting waypoint, and so and it'll go from there. So we can reuse that function. Then we don't have to. We develop it that way. We can create these waypoint categories, groups that don't really have a whole lot of logic to them, except for the fact that the individual waypoints have the controller set just to move the enemy from waypoint to waypoint. So that's where we'll leave off, and we'll pick up later. Thank you. See y'all later. Bye. Hey Joey, you got work again tonight?
Yeah, I work at 5.
Papa was wondering how you're gonna get to work. If you need him to pick him up, or
I already talked to him.
oh, you did? Okay.